Welcome to our podcast. I think we just both decided we need to start a podcast just to make a few points. And number one being that any opinions or expressions of interest are our own views, and we're not. And now, additionally, we're open to correction. If someone was to say to us, what you said was totally incorrect, and here's why, or we can prove it. Absolutely, no problem. We'd make a withdrawal for that.
I think you're right there. I would say that we tend to talk freely about things. So we might say things which we think are right, or
to the best of our knowledge.
Yeah, not things that we heard in a pub or stuff like that, but things that we might have read or seen, and sometimes they will be wrong.
Of course.
And we're fine with that.
And I think we're completely open to saying mea culpa, hands up, sorry, that was wrong, and make a correction if necessary. The other thing I would say is, my brain.
I would say the mafia was on the grass, in Dallas.
Probably. Well, that's a given. Sure, did you not see the Oliver Stone movie?
Yeah, of course.
Well, that was a documentary I hear.
By the way, do you know? Do you remember your man's talk, Mr. X? Who was the actor, the Canadian actor that played it?
In that movie?
Yeah, he met him outside. He met him outside the Capitol building or something like that, and then there was about a 10-minute thing about him going to New Zealand or going to the Antarctic, and he came back and it was all in the papers, and it was only like an hour after Kennedy got shot and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Apparently that is all rubbish. That
really?
whole lot was just made up.
It's funny. I haven't actually seen the movie.
You haven't seen JFK?
No. It's one that passed me by.
Wow.
But I must do. Is it worth a watch?
It's worth a watch, yeah, because it's more about a case that was brought in New Orleans. I think it was the only case that was brought.
Okay.
As into who actually killed Kennedy. And, Oliver Stone stands by it, but there was a lot of poetic license in it, so. Because that was absolute hearsay that this Mr. X just, filled him in and talked about ops and all that type of stuff. It's kind of like it really is sort of, it does make the movie interesting, which is maybe Stone did that on purpose.
Every movie, or it's like they do, what's the word, like theatrical license or whatever. I mean, there's tons of movies out there that, if you like, they're quick to point out, look, this isn't a documentary, this is a form of entertainment, but it's based on a real story, for example, I
always thought one of the greatest ones was Fargo. Did you ever see Fargo?
Oh, they're great.
And written at the start of the movie, it said, this is based on a true story.
Which is total rubbish.
And, I think it was probably one of the first movies to do something like that.
Yeah.
And so everyone going, gee, that's amazing. That story happened there.
I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But I presume it could have been like sort of War of the Worlds in 1938, edition that Orson Welles did.
Yeah. The radio show.
The radio show. And from that day on, for people that don't know, basically it was broadcast from New York City, and Orson Welles did it quite brilliantly. Is in that some other show finished at 8 exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And what people did, they generally switched over. So what he did, he started his show way early. So when they switched over, they thought they were listening to news.
In other words, they'd missed the intro to the show.
Exactly.
Or welcome to our,
now he did,
Theater 3000. Yeah.
Exactly. Now he did do the intro, but when people flicked over, they were listening to the news, they thought.
Or, they'd know.
Yeah. And one of the actual stories was... so one of the stories was about... the president's doing this, or prices of this, and then one of the stories was atmospheric disturbances have been noticed on Mars.
Oh,
now imagine listening to that and you're going, Jesus, that's a bit odd. And then it went into this ballroom where you sort of listen to music and stuff, and then the music got interrupted. And they said,
we have to interrupt.
Yeah, going back to our story.
Oh wow!
Now, if you thought about it logically, what happened was that a broadcaster or a journalist got there in 8 minutes, and if he knew anything of the geography of the building, it was impossible to get there in 8 minutes. It would have taken about 2 hours to get there. Because you were going from somewhere in New York to somewhere down in New Jersey.
Yeah.
However, he got there in 8 minutes.
Right.
And so people started listening to it, and there was a huge panic about it.
Yeah,
and,
I believe so.
Yeah, and even halfway through, a producer came in to Wells and said, "Look, people think this is real."
Yeah.
And Wells, now he was a young buck, and he probably knew damn well.
Yeah.
And
Probably.
And he said, "Well, how could they think it's real?" So what they had to do during about halfway was say, "Look, this is a fictional story. This is not real." But at that time, people, because it was at the stage where the aliens, the Martians, were outside New York City. They just passed the Palisades.
Oh, right, okay.
So people were looking outside to the Palisades, which
expecting
these Martians to come over the hills.
What do they call it? The tripods.
Tripods. And the army got obliterated, according to the radio show. Yeah. And so a lot of people had not turned the radio off, but don't forget at this time there was no portable radios.
No, that's right.
Yeah, so they
legged it. What would you call it? Transistor radio.
Transistor radio, yeah. So a lot of them legged it. So they were in the process of leaving New York City, thinking it was. Now I do know a few people did die from it, and there was huge panic about it. Yeah, but what happened was that the federal government said afterwards, you're not allowed to have false news stories.
Okay, or not. After that, you must. Or for example, you could imagine they'd have breaks in every 10 minutes going, you're still listening to our
broadcast show
entertainment of the War of the Worlds or something.
Because a New Jersey radio station did it in 1978. It's very good. People should go onto YouTube and listen to it. Yeah. And they have every about 10 minutes, this is a play, this is not real.
Cool your jets.
Yeah, because what happened was in Brazil, I'm going to guess in the 60s or 70s, the same thing was tried.
Oh.
And they burnt the radio station down.
No way.
And killed the DJ and a few others. So,
you know what? Hard to feel sorry for them.
No, it's hard to feel sorry for them. So, listen, there's something you wanted to clear up from last week. We were talking about children who were born with severe medical, what would the word be?
Like cerebral palsy or other life change. You know, obviously something that's going to cause disability.
And what was the context we were talking about?
Well, just to say that was what I forgot to say in the intro, that I think if we skip around on a previous podcast and, listening back, we think, oh, geez, we really left that point hanging. It might be worth just to clear it up at the start of the next week, Yeah. No, the point is, in fact, you kind of brought it up in the sense that, so the mechanism whereby parents, who have a child with this severe disability, we'll say cerebral palsy is probably the most common, they have to basically take a court case against the HSE.
Yes.
And, this takes years. It's really stressful for everyone involved. I mean, the medics, the staff, the hospital, and the...
what do the doctors think, being a doctor yourself?
Yeah.
What do they think when something goes wrong in a birth? Do they think, look, mea culpa, or not mea culpa, but just things went wrong? Do they say to themselves, oh God, here comes another 10-year court case? Or do they say to themselves, look, we did wrong here, why don't we just pay $200,000 a year for the rest of the baby's or the child's life?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, no, I guess they don't know is the honest truth. I mean, listen, if you talk to an obstetrician, and obviously, one of my best friends is an obstetrician, they would say, and I think you've said support. No, the vast majority of people don't get out of bed, go into the hospital and say, I'm going to do a half-hour's job today, and I don't care if some kid gets injured.
Yeah.
And again, by the way, it's not always the birth. It's hard to pin it down. Maybe the cerebral palsy was a genetic thing that started months ago. Do you know what I mean?
Is it a thing that's caused by genes?
Oh, it can be. Now you got me on the spot. I'd have to do the research about that. But the point being is that it plausibly might be a birth injury. I mean, that's a bit too simplistic. It's not a simple condition. But I think the crux of what we were about to say was, and I think the legal profession, like the judges, would agree, that this is a failure of the legislators. It'd be much, I don't know about you, but I think it would make much more sense, given that they end up paying out pretty much 100% of the time. You could skip all the trauma and obviously the barristers and taking a huge fee. So just skip all that and have a fund. The HSE, the government has a fund set up so that they could say a few different conditions, like say cerebral palsy is one of the more severe brain injury, that there's a fund that these parents will be supported, and it's because they're.
What do you think that maybe we can't see the consequences of doing something like that? Can you think? Is there any consequences to setting up a system like that we haven't really thought of?
I suppose I'm going into a different issue here, but the way people say, "Oh, it's a huge rise in autism or whatever."
Yeah.
But actually, a lot of it is just that things that weren't considered autism or due to new diagnostic criteria and so on. Seems like these things are increasing. So I suppose the only way you could do it is you'd have to maybe have very strict criteria. Do you know what I mean? Like, look, if the child has the mildest form of spina bifida or something and really, they can live a normal life, obviously they're not going to get this massive payout. So, didn't they do it for the personal injuries there a few years ago?
That's right.
So, they can create a kind of how would you say, a scale, kind of a format. And so you'd say, right, what category do they fit in? And once the judge and everyone's happy, that's.
But can I ask a question about cerebral palsy? What does that have to do with the birth? Like, do you not just have cerebral palsy and you're born with it? Whereas if things go wrong in a what do you call a ward where you have babies? God almighty, labor ward. Yeah. If things go wrong there, is that not a whole different thing? Like that somebody screwed up with the oxygen or something like that?
Well, this is the contention would be that due to difficulty at birth, the baby's brain is deprived of oxygen for a period of time, and therefore brain damage, which often presents then in kind of spastic limbs and so on. It's quite but there are degrees of it, of course. And this is the thing, because I think it's impossible to prove. I mean, I'd have to look this up, but I do remember, this has gone back to med school in the 90s, that you can't really definitive say, oh, this was a birth injury.
Yeah.
It may well have been, but you can't really prove it. But the thing is, judges will say, well, look, there's a really sick kid here and devastated parents, so I'm just going to find in favor of them. And if you notice, they frequently say the HSE, without an admission of guilt, has agreed to pay over this money. Do you know what I mean? So it's a fudge, and it shouldn't be that way, because I suppose, to be cynical, the legal profession are the only ones who benefit.
Yeah.
Family go through hell. It's very unpleasant, to everyone working, and I mean, contributes to big burnout and so in the profession. And do
you not think though that the HSE, for anyone that doesn't know, they're like the health service executive.
Yeah, I suppose the Irish equivalent of the NHS.
But they're the legal lead must come from them to tell the legislature on their side. Don't settle this.
Well,
or do you think the lawyers are saying to them, "Look, we can win this"? Or
no, it's just a kind of I don't know what the story is. I suppose. Look, the HSE are a semi-state body, or so they're ostensibly they got to watch the pennies, although they piss money away on rubbish. I don't know. I mean, dear Lord, do
you know that they can't reuse crutches, as far as I know?
Yeah. You're absolutely right.
Jesus Christ. How much is a set of crutches? 10 quid? 15 quid?
Oh, well, I mean,
not
at least, to mention the fact,
Yeah.
What did it cost? Or, in terms of, we're all talking about the environment these days.
Yeah.
What was the sort of environmental impact of manufacturing the bloody things?
Aluminium, plastic, and all.
Yeah, and then you just chuck them away.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they recycle them, but it just seems ludicrous.
Well, I'd say there's something there that some lawyer said, well, look, if you use crutches and then I use them after you and something's wrong with it,
break or something.
Then I sue the HSE.
And you know something? That probably did happen.
Oh my God.
And this is the thing. It's the same way, why do they have things like, this could be apocryphal, but you know the way you open your manual for your new microwave oven and it says something like, do not dry your cat in the oven or something. You know, and it's because supposedly some little old lady used to wash her cat, which is a bit cruel anyway. I don't think they like that.
Yeah.
And afterwards would have the oven on the lowest heat setting and put the cat in there to dry them off. And then I got this new microwave oven. Let's try that. Yeah.
Jesus
Not
Christ.
good.
Yeah. Speaking of cooking, I saw a picture of it's one of the first robot baristas in a coffee shop.
Oh yeah.
And
in San Francisco airport.
Oh my God, I could not believe it when I saw the photo of it.
Yep.
Like, this is it. Like, I think the biggest job in the States is truck drivers, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Driverless trucks have been coming along, but they still hasn't taken over yet. But
no, they're not there yet, but it's definitely on the horizon, isn't it?
But waiters and waitresses, like, if you do think about it, if you go into somewhere like Starbucks or something, there is a certain formula to make every coffee they have.
Sure.
The person just puts the cup down, pushes a button,
and has a
set of beans comes out, a set of water comes out. Now there is a certain style to making a cappuccino top with a heart and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
But I'm sure you can program for that. So if it's not, well, even the thing will probably bring it to your table. I can't see why robots can't do that.
No, they could, but I suppose, you know, what's the current setup in a place like Starbucks? You go into the register, you say, I'd like a mocha choco flippo latte with oatmeal
bollocks
essence or whatever, you know, rubbish, like, you know, and then you pays your money, usually a lot of money, and you then wait at the end of the counter. And I used to hate, you know, this thing where you say, oh, what name? And they put the name. I used to just say...
I always make a name up.
Yeah, me too. I was in the UK about 10 years ago. I remember, because, of course, my name, Ronan, it seems to be impossible for most people in England. Well, maybe Ronan Keaton did me a favour there. Yeah. But I used to get sick of... So I just said, what's your name? Bob.
Bob, yeah. I know. As if... You know, like, every time you're in the shop, like, I'm the only person there. I go to one of the Starbucks nearby because it's actually a nice place to sit and read.
Yeah.
And they keep asking me, what's your name? And I just keep making, now to be honest, I do keep making names. But I'm the only person there. And it's not like there's 50 people behind me in a queue and so I just go to the place and they say, Paul, coffee for Paul, and I was like, what, me? You know, Jesus Christ!
Oh yes, sorry, me.
Yeah,
I know.
So is that is one of the VM? I presume that's a huge job in the States, waiters and waitresses and all that stuff.
Where, you know, philosophy majors going to get jobs after college?
I spent $200,000 doing a philosophy degree, being indoctrinated by professors, and I was hoping to get a job in a coffee shop, and now there's a bloody robot there who probably knows more about philosophy than I do,
because it's directly plugged into Dr. Google.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh my God.
I know.
Yeah.
Just on that driverless truck thing, there's a movie called Logan, which is part of the, you know, the.
Oh, is he the Wolverine guy?
X-Men. Yeah, you know your man, Hugh Jackman. Yeah. And it's kind of slightly out of canon because it's set, you know, in the near future, maybe 30 years from now. Yeah. And anyway, it's quite a depressing, low-key movie, but it's good. It's good. But one scene is they're on the freeway traveling and there's all these driverless trucks. Yeah. And it's quite interesting because you've got the trailer and... You know where the hitch is, you know, on the truck trailer where the rear end of the truck is. The whole thing is, the whole track unit is in under there because there doesn't need to be room for a human. Right. So of course,
doesn't need a human.
No, because you can make the whole thing really compact. Of course. I mean, all you need to do is have whatever drivetrain, whether it be electric, hybrid, or diesel.
Oh my God.
You know, and
so is there a cab?
No, essentially not. No, it's completely designed to be driverless.
Wow. Oh my God.
And you see, the thing is, that has another, apart from you don't have to pay a driver and the thing can drive 24/7 without having to take a break. Yeah. There's, particularly in the EU, for example, there's a maximum length your truck can be. So obviously that's why we don't in Europe have these kind of Max and Peterbilts with the big long bonnets on them like they do in the States. Because I think the States is a more relaxed thing. Yeah. Because if you did that, you could register a Peterbilt or one of these big American trucks and use it in Europe, no problem. Except that you'd be a fool to, because you'd have to pull a shorter trailer.
Of course.
You know, that's why all the European trucks are the cab over design. You know,
the Aussies have truck trains.
Yeah, I've seen them
because apparently the roads are so straight.
Yep.
And
the distance is so huge.
And you have seen one of you.
Oh, sorry. I'm not in person, but I mean, I've seen them on TV shows.
It's like three or four trailers or something like that, and off they go. I do know Budweiser did in the States. They have a driver's truck that just goes on the motorway in Chicago or something like that, and then comes off it in Detroit, and that's it, because the two warehouses are right next to the motorway.
So it doesn't have to negotiate busy city streets. Well,
but if you think about the concept of motorways or interstate highways, like they are incredibly brilliant when it works.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever see a pileup, or like a real pileup on like YouTube or something like that, where some car stops and then you just see truck after
like
truck after
it's
truck.
Like a concertina effect.
And it's 100 cars and trucks and everything like that. It could be because
it
of
usually happens
snow.
in like fog or snow
or ice.
People are going too fast.
And that's where motorways, if you generally think about it, their designs are so good, and we actually don't think about it, how good they are. You have thousands of these things traveling 100 kilometers an hour. Yeah. And they don't crash, and like that is quite incredible.
Or at least, not all the time.
Not all the time.
Of course, they do sometimes, but at a very low rate.
But generally, when a crash happens on a motorway, it tends to be catastrophic. Whereas if a crash happens on just a sort of regular road,
might be just one or two vehicles.
Yeah, that's about it.
That's true.
So, and so the driverless thing will push the safety up massively. Because
no question.
Yeah, because it'll be one computer will just run the whole lot.
Yep.
And it'll calculate distances, and it'll probably know, like a truck maybe 6 miles ahead, something happens, and it can slow everything down behind.
Yeah, because it's obviously they're all essentially connected to a network.
Like a train.
Yeah, totally. Or indeed aircraft, because they're all monitored by air traffic control. You know.
So I think it would safety would be a big difference if they do bring that in. But in terms of jobs, what the hell are people going to do? A bunch of artists.
I have some thoughts about that. Based on a few things I heard. I mean, so you've got automation of, say, servers.
Yeah.
And by the way, they don't have to bring it to your table, because, like we were saying, you collect the coffee. You just wait and get the coffee. So the robot doesn't have to spread out legs and walk over to your table.
Yeah. By the way, I'll just tell you, last week, I won't say the company name, but one of the giant AI companies in the States just fired 600 of their programmers.
Really?
Who programmed AI.
Oh, so you mean it's like the bubble might be bursting?
Well, the fact is, the programmers were hired to write the AI. The AI is being written now. Oh, God. So they don't need the programmers.
So they've basically done themselves out of a job.
100%. The better it got, the more they... I'd imagine working there and going, okay, hang on a second now. This stuff can do exactly what I did.
Let's put a few bugs in. Let's put bugs in the code.
Exactly, yeah. Anyway, you're saying there. Go on, sorry.
Wow. No. On that issue of jobs disappearing. So, what is it? A couple of million. If you tomorrow replaced every truck in America with a driverless truck, what's that? 2-3 million out of a job straight away?
Yeah.
And oftentimes... not as good as before, but they are some of the higher paying jobs that don't need a college degree. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
So again, they're not going to get another job that pays anything like the same.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Drivers. Then now we're baristas, and that's another thing. And then again, I mean, restaurants in servers in anything other than very swanky restaurants. Say a McDonald's kitchen. If they automated everything, I mean, can you imagine if they did that? How many people get their first job in McDonald's?
As far as I know, Wendy's have hired robots in the States.
Really?
Yeah, and now I'm not too sure what they do, but I remember reading on Bloomberg that they were one of the first restaurants to go with the robot route.
Oh.
Now we've all been to McDonald's. It is a line, it's a production line.
Yeah. Well, that was the McDonald brothers back in the 50s.
Yeah, but it was all cooked by then. But then they did a huge change, which I thought made McDonald's lose the essence of the restaurant. It was kind of, it's just you're just standing there waiting for your food, looking at the number board.
Oh, right,
And I think I remember going back to McDonald's in the 70s and the 80s, and there was always a buzz around the place, with all the cashiers and people and all that stuff. Now, maybe that was
first
because
one in Ireland, 1978, Grafton Street.
And maybe that's because I was a kid. But they are quite vacuous now, and I just there isn't much going on.
Mind you, the trick
still.
I find it's very handy as I'm getting older and more sedate is when you order these kiosky things, you can select table service, and it's no extra charge. You just
McDonald's?
take you take a kind of a number thing.
Yeah.
You go and sit down, stick it on your table, and then a few minutes later, one of the harassed, overworked, underpaid individuals delivers your food.
Allegedly.
Well,
yeah. We just say if anyone from
listen to the
McDonald's
start of the podcast.
If anyone's listening there from McDonald's, I will say the food is absolutely brilliant. So,
outstanding.
But it is. I love.
Actually,
I do love the cheeseburgers.
Certainly, the McD's you get in the EU and the UK and obviously Ireland, streets ahead of the stuff in the States.
Really?
Oh, the quality of food in the States.
Well, they do get their food locally,
Yeah, but I mean, in the States, not so much.
Not so much, yeah.
It's, and the thing in the States, particularly with beef, of course, to make beef a mass market product, you have to intensify the raising of cattle. So they're in these giant feedlots, being fed grain, not grass, because apparently if you insisted on grass feed for every cow in the States, the States isn't big enough. You know what I mean?
Really? Is that
something like that, like we're very lucky here in Ireland because
lots of grass.
We've lots of grass and a relatively low population for the size of the place. But and the problem then leads to more problems with these feedlots because you basically all these cows stand around pooping everywhere, so they're E. coli nightmares. And oftentimes, the one thing that's more likely to give you E. coli food poisoning in the States, it used to be meat, but they've now addressed that by making sure they cook things longer and hotter. Fine. But it's now things like lettuce and veggies.
My God.
Because if you don't cook them, you see, and a lot of these big places like in, I think, Arizona, California, where they intensively grow these vegetables, are downstream, from these feedlots, which are further inland, and the cows are filling the waterway with shite, and do
you think, as a doctor, we humans screwed up on the what do you call it when you get an injection that, or you take a pill that to get rid of the bad germs in your body? My God.
Antibiotics.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Did we screw up in that massively?
Oh well, no. I mean,
or is that just evolution?
No, I mean, listen. Okay, here, put it this way. I remember someone saying, if you could, travel in time, how far back would you go? And I remember they were saying, well, we can go back before the invention of penicillin.
You'd be just dead.
Yeah, but I mean, you'd well scratch your arm. Yeah. And, oh, Jesus, that's sore. Look at that, broke the skin. A couple of days later, you've got gangrene in your hand, or you're dead.
There was a very good apocalyptic film.
Oh, yeah.
And that was one of the biggest things.
I think another one.
And this guy, he had antibiotics, and then they ran out, and his wife was saying, "Oh, what are you worried about stuff?" And then she scratched herself, and she was dead after 6 days.
Tonsillitis, for goodness sake.
Jeez.
I mean, tonsillitis is an inconvenience now.
But did we overdo it? Did we just treat them like candy or sweets?
Yeah, obviously, probably. I'm sure, I'm probably been guilty of this myself. You're saying, well, look, I don't. Okay, just here's some antibiotics. It's probably viral, but sit on those for a day or two and just take them if you know what I mean. Now, so there's been a big push in the medical profession, particularly among GPs, and particularly in places like the UK, to really, patients complain that they nearly have to go jump through hoops to get their doctor to give them an antibiotic. It's like they're, oh my God, I can't give you that, Yeah. And actually, conversely, that leads to other unintended consequences. I've heard stories of children dying of bacterial meningitis,
Jesus.
which if it wasn't, maybe if the doctor hadn't been so deadly afraid almost of giving antibiotics, the child would be alive and well.
Oh my God.
Because the delay is critical. If you might think delay half a day or a day, but that can mean the difference of life and death in meningitis.
Is the development of antibiotics becoming? Are they at the verge of making synthetics? So, able to read the data so quickly that when a virus evolves, we can just. Not like we did with COVID, but
you're talking about things like the mRNA vaccine,
things like that, yeah.
Well, you see, not quite the same thing in the sense. Obviously, that's for viruses, but the bacterial issue, antibacterials, the problem is resistance.
Yeah.
So you've got, I suppose, two major types, like Streptococcus and Staphylococcus. The difference is strep is still, it's the puny one. It's like the fella on the beach getting sand kicked in his face. Pretty much any antibiotic will take out strep. But staph is a major problem because what happens is it's got a kind of lipid kind of membrane around the outside of the actual molecule, shall we say, the organism.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable. It's like, like in Star Trek, the Borg. You know the way in those movies you start shooting the Borg with your phaser.
And they adapt.
After 3 shots, boom, now they're adapted. Kind of like that with Staphylococcus.
Jesus.
Yeah. And there are forms which are pretty much resistant to almost all antibiotics. So that's a real problem.
Mm.
Yeah. By the way, yes, the medical profession, from my impression and from my experience, is both under a lot of pressure from kind of professional standards and regulators and so on to minimize antibiotic use.
Yes.
And I think there's been some reasonable succce there.
Can I ask a question then?
Yeah.
Since I've been an adult, and I'm pretty sure about this, I've only taken
last week, was it?
Last week, yesterday. I've only taken antibiotics once.
Okay.
And every time I've always asked the doctor, do I really need these?
Yeah.
And the doctor said, no, you don't. Look, he said, look, I'd like to give them to you, but you don't. Give me a call in a week and we'll see how it is. Now, does that mean that? Is there any point in doing that? Because if the strep, or what do you call the staph,
or the staph, the tougher one,
if that develops, is it just pointless? Will it just get me anyway? Because you're not building up. This is not about resistant building, is it?
Well, no, it is. You see, the thing is, lots of individuals will always, if you like, have a good response to antibiotics. It's like everything. It's like. Well, it's a separate issue, but what the big thing that annoys the pro-vaccination, which is the majority, but the anti-vaxxers sort of say, well, look, you take the vaccine, it's my choice not to. Okay, I kind of do agree with personal choice, but there are exceptions, and this would be one, because there is a thing called herd immunity.
Yeah.
And unless you have a very high percent, like 90+%, you're going to have outbreaks of, say, measles or these diseases, right?
Is that why TB is coming back?
Yeah, well, that could be demographics as well. Okay,
yeah.
Because in other words, that's an immigration thing. Because TB was more or less wiped out in Western Europe.
Jesus.
And to the point that, you and I have the scars in our arm, and a lot of our generation and older do, from the BCG vaccine.
Right.
The big dimple in the arm.
That's right, yeah.
They have now, younger people, like say millennials, have 3 little dimples because instead of giving them one big shot. And as far as I know, I remember, certainly in the last 10 plus years, they don't give it to kids anymore because there's no need.
Wow.
But would you believe the TB is prevalent or still a problem in other parts of the world, indeed in Eastern Europe, for example. Maybe not anymore, but there was big spikes in it because you had obviously the immigration and movement of people. So,
But there's no such thing as TB in the Soviet Union, comrade.
Oh, no, of course not.
No.
Along with what? Serial killers, divorce.
None of our citizens have
this.
It's
a socialist passive.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. Why do they give it to kids? Do they give it to kids because you might as well give it to them when their bodies are able to handle it and there's a chance they might get it? Or
which one now?
The whole lot. Yeah, the whole lot. Or do you give it to kids because it's a perfect time in their developmental stages to give it to them? Why not wait till they're 10 or something like that? Or?
Most of these serious diseases would have hit them by then.
Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, sure, measles, you know.
Of course, when you're a kid, yeah.
I mean, sure, you know, chickenpox, measles,
and
God forbid, diphtheria. Like, the interesting thing is, you'll hear a thing like people say, I never seen a case of diphtheria. Bloody hell. And then, but you talk to, like, people our parents' generation, like my dad's generation, in their 70s and 80s, who were doctors maybe back in the 60s, and they're going, oh, I have.
Yeah.
And they were bloody nightmares.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and
was
kids
it,
died.
Was it Edward Jenner that came up with the vaccines, was it?
Well, don't forget that. I mean, there's loads of... No, the most famous one was probably a guy called... Was it Johannes Salk, S-A-L-K?
Or Fleming. Fleming came up with the...
Fleming discovered penicillin.
Penicillin.
Yeah. Although, mind you, I think a German guy did it around the same time too. But they lost the war, so...
Because vaccine is from the French word for cow, vache.
Oh, yeah. Well, that makes sense.
The guy who made it, I think it was Jenner. It could have been someone else.
For smallpox, or sorry, cowpox.
Cowpox, yeah.
Which, by the way, is now extinct. Thanks to vaccination.
Well, he noticed that the milkmaids never suffered from it.
That's right.
And he said, well, hang on a sec, what the hell's going on? So he injected himself with it. I mean, that's pretty ballsy thing to do. And it did work, you know, this concept of what the vaccine was. Without mentioning names of certain people that we might know, this anti-vaccine thing, has that always been there since vaccines started? Or is it just a modern thing?
There's probably nothing new under the sun. The difference is, and I've said this many times before, in the past, people maybe with very big differences of opinion, like I don't believe in science, I don't believe in this, that, the other, whatever it be. Unless you went down to Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park in London and listened to them.
Which I love.
Well, there you go. But I mean, that's great, you know.
Yeah.
And I think we both firmly believe in the freedom of speech. But the difference is, you see, thanks to social media, internet, so on, it's the reach that these people have.
Okay.
And there's no filter. Like, you know, say broadcast news or a newspaper, if it was to print a load of kind of sensational stuff like this, it would rightfully probably be sued. But you know, you can't obviously sue an individual through Facebook, shall we say? And most of the those companies, the social media companies, have, I think, very successfully fought any attempts to have to be moderators of content. You know?
So they aren't, in fact, publishers, as in like the Times or the Independent. They aren't that. Or
like Indeed, a book publisher, for example, they can't knowingly print falsehoods, you know what I mean? So
you think it's just because there's more information out there, or sorry, not more information, there's more people looking at it.
I suppose more disinformation, to be honest. Yeah,
because the one thing that people obviously care about more than anything else is their kids, right? And so they, you know, it must put a worry in a parent's head, saying, oh, hang on a sec now, if I put this in, something adversely will happen to my child, which could be 1 in 10,000 or 20,000, but that's just that's just the nature of the risks.
Yeah,
because as you say, you're doing it for the herd.
Well, you're also doing it for yourself. Don't forget. I mean, yes, even if vaccination rates are relatively low, but you are vaccinated against, say, measles, right? You may well get the measles, but if you do get measles, you get a mild form of it. You won't have the kind of thing that gives you encephalitis, which is swelling in the brain and can turn you into a vegetable or dead. So it's not a lot of people, in particular the States, are going to say things like, geez, it's just a mild thing, it's a rash, what the hell? Yeah, for a lot of people, but do you want to take that chance? I think...
What's the most ridiculous conspiracy theory you've heard when it comes to vaccines from somebody you'd consider an educated person? Without mentioning names.
No, but I mean, just, general rejection of them. Do you know what I mean?
Of the whole lot?
Well, yeah, because pretty much that seems to be the case. I will say there's a lot of people out there who say very loudly, like, RFK in the States, oh, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. Oh, no. But I want safe vaccines. And you say, well, okay, what do you mean by that? No risk of side effects whatsoever. Well, okay, show me anything in life you can guarantee is 100% safe.
I don't think there's any medical drug, but that doesn't have a side effect.
No, sure, look, I mean, penicillin we were talking about there, it's life-saving in many cases, but there's a significant people who kill you.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, you might get away with one dose, but the second dose will kill you.
Jesus.
No, I was going to say the analogy, because I in my own work as a GP, again, I make no apology. I'm extremely pro-vaccines because it just makes total sense. Prevention is better than cure.
Yeah.
And it's better for everyone, not just society, but the individual.
Yeah.
So I used to say, if people said just that argument, well, they're not 100% safe, and what if my kid is vaccine injured, and to use the lingo they use? Well, I go, well, yes, that's true. It would be awful, but they're far, far more likely to have one of these serious childhood illnesses.
Yeah.
And I used to think it was akin to like, oh, well, I don't wear seatbelts in the car because I get a rash off the nylon of the seatbelt.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, but that's not, you might regret that if you hit the Mack truck,
That's 60 miles an hour.
Yeah. It's like, I suppose, and actually, it's easier to get this across, believe it or not, I think, to Irish people. I think culturally, it's a bit of stereotype, but I mean, over the generations, Irish culture, the pub, betting on horses, people understand odds,
yes.
And apparently that's not such you can't take that for granted in other populations. So that if you say something like to an Irish person, listen, the chances of that drug, vaccine, treatment, whatever, seriously going wrong is like one in 10,000, right? And you think, yeah, because like every time I get in the car and turn it on, there's probably a greater chance than that I could die. You know what I mean? Like life has risks. And
is there any data out for children that haven't taken vaccines? Is there any data that says that the anti-vaxxers can stand by and say, look, here's the data?
Oh, no. No, they haven't a leg to stand on. Scientifically,
oh, really? So there is no data at all that they can stand by?
Listen, the bottom line is, if you believe in the scientific method, right, which is whereby someone comes up with a theory, an idea, it gets tested extensively around the world.
Peers look at it.
Yeah, peer-reviewed, journals, whatever. And the most important thing is that the results, therefore, can be repeatable.
Yes.
Yeah, good example. Remember there was something about in the 80s about, we cold fusion or something, and they said, but then no one could reproduce it. So, that's same thing with, it has to be reproducible. So if there's ample evidence, that these are now accepted facts, really.
Does that not mean the conspiracy goes deeper if there's if there's ample of evidence?
Oh yes, that means it goes right to the top.
Yes, that means that they're tampering with the evidence. To change it around.
But that's the problem. These guys don't believe in the scientific method, and in fact, it was very telling recently. You know the way another obsession of these guys is autism. Which really pisses me off because I have a son on the spectrum, and frankly, I'm probably on it too.
Because it's a spectrum, are we not all on it?
Yeah, pretty much. You could be at 0 on the spectrum, the least autistic person ever, but technically you're on the spectrum.
Because it is a spectrum, so therefore all of us must be on it somewhere.
Yeah, and if you think about when we were in school, in the 80s, right?
The Higgs bench.
Well, there was a bunch of people who maybe behaved oddly or they were autistic, or I suppose the word now is neurodivergent.
Right.
They were, and here's the thing. There's also there's that explosion and I remember me RFK. There was no one with autism when I was a kid. Yeah, there were, dude.
Yeah.
In fact, the diagnosis of it first was described in the 19th century, I think. Yeah. But here's the thing.
I think he said. I remember him saying, because I was very interested about why.
Full disclosure, I cannot stand him.
Fair enough. I wouldn't. I wouldn't know much. Well, I do know a bit about him, but I remember him saying that his argument for this was that something happened in the 1980s where you had the explosion in autism. Now, what he said it was it could be to do with 8 different factors or 10 factors. One of them was vaccines. Yeah. What do you call it when you put the scanner over the pregnant woman's belly and you look inside? Ultrasounds. Yeah.
Jeez. I mean, sorry. Yeah. I find it hard to be dispassionate about this.
But all those things that came in the 80s. Yeah. But the one thing, so all different sort of developments in surgery to do with birth, or not surgery, medicine. But the one thing he didn't take into account was that exact point that when we were in school, you had it was the Thick's bench, and it's a horrible phrase, or spas English. Like we were laughing about the other day. I mean, it's a horrible term.
Yeah.
And by the way, I was in spas English, so but it's got.
But you're very good at maths. In fairness,
I'm good at maths,
which I'm not.
Yeah, and so to me, that was that's the one thing that they didn't take into account, that it didn't exist in its.
The problem is they cherry pick things. So, for example, by the way, just to say, another reason there's been a big explosion, if you like, in diagnosis of autism.
Yeah,
I think there's no increased amount of it, shall we say, but the diagnosis, yes, is because if you want to get any services, like for your child, like whether it be speech therapy, behavioral therapy, if you don't have a label, they won't give it to you. Do you know what I mean? Right. So a lot of people might say, geez, I don't want my kid to be labeled as with an autistic child. Okay, but it actually is, you probably need that label to be able to then qualify for assistance. So,
I don't think, do you think people mind now? I don't think people mind.
No, probably
anymore.
not. But, it can be upsetting because, actually, if you think about it, when we were teens as well, what was there's great movie, it was a very well-regarded movie, Rain Man, with Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman. And that's kind of the more extreme version of, So that
was people's interpretation of what autism was.
Yeah, so when someone says, "Oh, my child's autistic," you straight away thinking, "Oh, Rain Man," which is, and the other thing that, and people like parent groups, advocates for autism, sort of get really annoyed with the likes of RFK and his ilk, is that they're saying this isn't a disease, like. There are children and they're a bit different, but actually they're brilliant at certain things, and in fact, there's lots of examples of probably people out there who are on the spectrum. And
I remember my mother telling me that, and she was that sort of wise grandmother type thing, but she said that she's always so surprised when people are shocked there's something wrong with their child.
Yeah, and
she said there is no such thing as a perfect child.
No,
every child has problems. Every child does. And that's just the reality. Yeah. And people are saying, "Oh, my son is this, my daughter is this," and she used to say, "Well, look, don't worry about it." Don't worry about it. But she used to point that out and say, "Look, there is no such thing as the perfect child."
True. I think also, it's different when even we were kids in the 80s. If you had, say, dyslexia or ADHD, which is also part of that spectrum of things, disorders, you'd often be treated really, really harshly in school. Like, you'd be the dunce, don't know who you're thick, what the hell, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's awful. Yeah. And
because I was shit at languages, awful. Yeah. But I was good at maths, so it's.
But there you go. Yeah. Whereas conversely, I could get through the old maths, but geez, it was a struggle. I could do it, but I was always slow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But just
I suppose it's just it's conspiracy theories, whether people want to entertain them or not. I don't think I think people have sort of come to the stage where they hear people talking about anti-vaxxers. Now, I haven't listened to much of RK, but people that I know. When they start speaking about anti-vaxxers, I kind of asked them, I said, look, how much research have you really done? And
or like your 10-minute Google search, is that really better than a guy who spent 30 years in a lab researching it?
100%, yeah. And I think that's, it's people who do the Google searches for their answers to things. Yeah. It's a not dangerous thing to do, because there's certain parts of it, like how do you know the information that's sent to you is right?
Well, you don't.
Unless you do research, and the research isn't about I'll spend the next minute looking through Google pages.
No, you go
research
into a library,
is something
look
that
at mega
takes
journals,
years.
And you name it,
and it's, as you say, it's adopting the scientific method to it,
exactly.
which I think a lot of people don't do.
They don't,
maybe they don't have time for it or something.
Well, here's the thing, like you said. So someone gets a bee in their bonnet, like, geez, I don't like, look, what are these chemicals I'm pumping into my kid or whatever, Yeah. So then they go on Google and it's like, it's self-reinforcing. Like, you go in there with a mindset and type whatever in vaccine injuries, for example. That's going to bring you straight to vaccine, anti-vax stuff. Yeah. The very language of it. And that's the problem as well, because then once they've sort of made their mind up about it, doesn't matter what information you show them.
It just goes deeper.
It just goes deeper. No, but I mean, like every question, I have never heard or encountered a question or some sort of, a pseudo fact, which is a bit of a misnomer, that I can't easily disprove.
Yeah.
With the modicum of actual, empirical evidence. It doesn't matter, because then they just move on to the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing.
I was having a conversation with this guy at dinner, and we started the conversation, and I put my fork down right in front of me. And then he said something which is wrong, so I corrected him on it, and I said, and then I just moved and then he changed the subject, so I just moved my fork over. And then he got it wrong again, and it was just something I just happened to have done a lot of research on.
Yeah.
And then I moved my fork again. He changed the subject, and after about the fourth time, he said to me, "Why do you keep moving?
Why are you moving the fork?
Why do you keep moving the fork?" And I said, "Because you keep changing the subject, and I just want to know."
And you're keeping track.
And you're keeping track of how many times.
It's like those dudes in those prisons, scratching on the wall.
Yeah. So basically, I had to get, and all he's looking for is one victory.
Yeah.
And then
he's like,
I told you.
Everything else is wrong.
Yeah, everything else is wrong. Yeah. But I got 1 out of 6 right. So he'll walk away with a thing saying, "Oh God, I'm brilliant." And it wasn't. I just happened to know a lot. I just happened to know a lot about the subject.
Yeah,
and that's how I just got him. And no, I didn't want to get him.
I know,
but he just kept changing the subject, looking for the kill.
Yeah,
and speaking of kill, do you think Oswald do you think he killed the president?
That's
Never mind the whole crap behind it.
No.
The conspiracy theory.
Pretty much, yeah.
You think he just got lucky?
Yeah, well,
I do.
No, if you listen to that famous Vietnam War documentary, Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Gunnery Sergeant was it Hartman?
That's right. Yeah.
Made it very clear that
he was a Marine.
Yeah. And therefore, it wasn't surprised you could make that shot.
Yeah, I think he got lucky. Like to get 3 shots off in that time.
Yep. And against a moving target.
Yeah, and, people go on about the grassy knoll and stuff like that. You watch the film, and now you read the report, but a guy did a fantastic study on the report, or on the film, on the Zapruder film, I think it was called. What's it called?
Zapruder, I think, is it?
Zapruder.
Zapruder, I think.
And he did a fantastic study on a frame by frame basis.
Okay.
And just where the real shot happens,
the one that took the back of his head off, kind of thing. Yeah.
Not the blue's head off. There was a shot after that.
Oh,
it was just at a sign.
Yeah, wasn't there, by the way?
Was passing
the governor of Texas or something, or the
Governor
mayor
Connolly
also got badly shot.
Yeah,
so,
and what the report into Dulles' report into it was that it was this famous magic bullet that turned around and stuff. But your man disproved all that.
Right.
And he said, look, ballistics at the time did this.
Yeah.
Each frame, but there's one frame where you see Kennedy just leaning back, and then you see him being pushed forward.
Oh, and like the impact of the bullet, perhaps.
That was the impact, And so I just think Oswald got lucky. Look, it's a great thing about stories that if people are doing nothing, you should go on to YouTube and watch this fantastic interviews with a guy called William F. Buckley, who was a conservative commentator at the time. And he had lots of people on the show about, I'm going to say, 6 months to a year after Kennedy got shot.
Oh, okay.
And it's really interesting. It's about a 50-minute interview with a guy, and they're all there smoking tabs.
Oh yeah, of course,
And so he had this one guy
putting women and black people in pace.
Exactly.
I know. How far have we fallen as a society?
Actually, he interviewed Huey Newton.
Oh yeah,
Who's he again? Huey Newton was the guy that founded the Black Panthers.
Oh right, yeah.
He did some fantastic interviews.
Okay.
Muhammad Ali. He had what was your man?
Don't you mean Cassius Clay?
Sorry, I don't think it was Muhammad Ali. It was your man who in Detroit founded the Nation of Islam. He's won the Nation of Islam.
Malcolm X. No?
Malcolm X.
Yeah.
He did those interviews. He wasn't scared to talk to these people, and while very few. He himself was a conservative, and he used to bring them on and challenge their thinking. And then he'd ask questions from the audience. They are fascinating videos to watch. I really recommend you get an insight to history of them. Yeah.
I mean, that's the problem, shall we say, with the current setup in the States, is that everyone's talking in an echo chamber.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm an equal opportunity criticizer, although obviously I think the Trump administration Mark II is just egregiously awful. But, you remember, what's the guy's name, the podcast, Joe Rogan?
Yeah.
And Kamala didn't go on him. That was a mistake.
Biggest mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was that was actually Barron Trump told his dad.
Really?
Barron Trump told his dad to go on 2 shows, specifically Joe Rogan, 2 big ones, and then there was another one done by a guy, and he calls himself white trash. He's
not Joe Bongino or something, was it?
No, it's
he's the assistant director.
It's Theo Von.
Oh, I don't know him. I've heard the name.
Yeah, he's very good, and he had Trump on, and he was. Now, forget whether you like him or you don't like Trump. He had Trump on, and he was talking about cocaine addictions.
You can't either do you don't. It's Marmite, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, he was talking about cocaine addictions, drink addictions, and Trump was listening to him, and so that swung the white trash vote. And I shouldn't use the word white trash.
Well,
sorry.
I know. Yeah.
And then he went on. And then he went on the
Trump more than once.
Yeah, and then he went on the Joe Rogan show.
Oh. No,
foolishly, Rogan asked Kamala.
Yeah,
and Rogan's he's not a difficult interviewer. He just sits there.
I think he would have given her a fair interview. Actually,
I think so. Well, he doesn't unless you really say something, But Rogan's more of a listener, I think.
Yeah,
and I think that's why people like the show.
I don't agree with a lot of his views.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate this way. If you're not like a hard right conservative, you're a bloody pig.
Marxist pig. Get him.
Jeez.
Goddamn
I mean, they talk about the radical left in the States. What they call the radical left is centre right Europe. You know what I mean? It's like, anyway, don't waste my time.
I think people are, there's a fear of talking, and I'm a great believer in free speech, except when it's
I think it's just a general sign of a decline in civility generally.
I don't think so. I think there's a fear of talking. It's not civility. I was having a conversation once with this guy, and I specifically picked a subject which I knew would rile him.
Okay.
And I said the converse of what.
Do you mean you were being a contrarian, Phil?
Yes.
That's very unlike you.
And what I did was, it was to do with IQ levels.
Okay.
And I started off with the good ones and worked down to the bad ones.
Right.
And he accused me when I said the bad ones of every ism you could think of.
Okay.
And I said to him, why did you accuse me of those? Why didn't you accuse me when I said the good ones? When I was talking about the higher IQs.
Well, there you go, yeah.
Ashkenazi Jews.
IQ, in my opinion, is very flawed.
It is flawed. Well, it's...
Because
if it's
actually... You could have someone who's...
If it's to do with language, it's ridiculous.
Genetically or naturally a genius, but maybe they didn't have a good education, access to education. So
but I think most IQ tests now are done by shapes.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
So because there's this thing called the Flynn effect. Mm-hmm. Like IQ is always measured from 100. Okay. So that's
it's well, I think isn't 100 meant to be the average IQ?
The average
society?
IQ.
Okay. Yeah.
Now the average IQ now would be, well, God, maybe it wouldn't be higher than maybe 80 years ago.
Yeah.
So, but 80 years ago, they were asked questions to do with language and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you
didn't have that education, you wouldn't know it.
Yeah.
Doesn't
So what does dodecahedron mean? Which is a ridiculous question to ask somebody who might have never done mathematics before.
Yeah. Or didn't get the opportunity to go to senior school.
100%, yeah. So I don't know what it's like as a measurement, but it's kind of...
I just think it's also irrelevant, kind of. I mean, what is the big deal? I mean, you don't get into university or get jobs because you have a high IQ.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think it's bragging rights, frankly, or you join this, to get into Mensa, which is like, dear God. I don't like show-offs. That's why...
Well, someone said to me, the greatest trick that Mensa ever did was to convince people with an IQ of 120 over to join. So you're in... I know people that have said to me...
I mean, I turned them down multiple times.
Yeah, but I do know
begged
people...
me to join, they did.
I do know people that have said to me, well, I'm a member of Mensa, and I always say to myself, well done, Mensa. You got another idiot.
Yeah, exactly.
Who pays you 40 quid a year.
You may be academically smart, but you're not street smart, dude.
100%, yeah.
Do you know, it's interesting, one politician in the States who is very impressive, I think, and one of the reasons is because he's not afraid to talk, is the man Pete Buttigieg, because he regularly went on Fox News. And he went in the lion's den and was really able to handle himself.
I have a lot of time for people like that. I have a lot of time for people like that. I really do. I prefer that than, if you have shows like The View, which is just 5 birds with the same opinion, like it is. Except when I saw
Whoopi Goldberg has come up with some.
I saw Kurt Russell go on there because he was in charge of the NRA at the time, and he made. Are you thinking Kurt Russell?
Tom Selleck, I thought.
No, why? Well, Kurt Russell was on it, and I think
don't think he'd be quite typical Hollywood liberal. I mean, don't forget he's married to Goldie Hawn,
he was explaining the Second Amendment.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, and anyway, but he did it brilliantly, and they were kind of stunned because they had no comeback in his arguments. I know. And but I do take my hat off.
If you're not prepared. It doesn't matter what how the validity of your argument. If you're badly prepared, then you're going to lose the debate.
That is, and that's quite easy to see through. It's like when you watch interviews with politicians, and famously, what was your man, Jeremy Paxman, had the same question 16 times, or was it 18 times?
Yeah. I'd say they hated being interviewed.
Yeah, by him. Let me ask you again. And he kept asking, and your man, fair dues of me, he just kept dodging the question, changed the subject. And saying, well, it's not really about that.
They get a lot of training to do that. You know?
I think it's, I suppose you do get political training to do that. But maybe if you were to say what you think, maybe you wouldn't get voted,
I know, well, unless you're the current
the mob is fickle.
Well, no, it's just funny. I think that generally is the thing. You have to kind of toe the line, or, geez, certain things, you're gone, mate. Yeah. Unless you're Donald Trump. I mean, he's practically...
That's not bad. That's 4 times you mentioned him.
Well, because we're talking about the thing. Dear Lord. Next you'll be saying I've got Trump derangement syndrome.
Rubbish. I'd never say that to you. Jeez.
No, actually, I wasn't really... I'm not interested in Trump. He's...
Do you know we have another 3 years and 2 months left of...
but actually, if they... if they get the Congress and the
Don't say the A word, by the way, or we'll have a CIA answer the door.
Who's that?
Don't say the A word.
Oh, yeah?
As in assassination.
Oh, yeah, Jesus
Don't say
Christ.
That.
Yeah.
Don't say that word.
Oh, God, no. Yeah. Not at all. That'd be a tragedy. Yeah. But the thing is...
Secret Service.
If he loses the Congress next year, the midterms, he's lame duck. Because
generally doesn't that happen? Is it very seldom you get...
It's unusual to retain it. Or at least in recent decades, shall we say. I mean, sure, from I think, was it the 40s until the 70s or the 80s? Yeah. It was, Democrats just had a lock on it.
Let me ask you a question. We, just to finish up here, we had a presidential election vote today.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think about the argument that a spoiled vote is something that a child would do?
I don't know about that. I mean, the bottom line is I think you should vote. Yeah. I mean, I actually do agree with the Australians in that they have mandatory voting.
They have to vote, don't they?
Well, yeah. Mind you, though, I think if people still don't and they get like a slap on the wrist fine, it's not like you're going to be carted off to Chokey,
Exactly.
But I do think it's the right thing to do. I mean, after all, I would argue when you look at around places like Orban and Hungary, Turkey, obviously Russia, all these places, democracy is fragile. And another way, I saw a great interview with a woman a journalist from the Philippines who was basically exiled by Duterte or whatever, the former, he's now up on human rights charges or whatever. But she said that it's very easy to lose your democratic rights and it's bloody hard to get them back.
Yeah, that is true.
You got to watch that. By the way, just to tie off that point about Pete Buttigieg, I do like the guy, and he's very, very smart. He's a good guy. And I think it's an awful shame that he probably hasn't a prayer at being president. And why? Because he's gay, and unfortunately, it just...
Amazing people care about that, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they shouldn't, but it matters in the States, if you're not a God-fearing family man,
And yet, if you think about all the politicians we've had in Europe over the past 1,000 years, statistically, 5% of them are gay.
Of course, of course. Yeah. Like, geez, it wasn't just invented in the 60s or whatever.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah,
I mean,
invented. I like
I'm
that.
exactly like you. I mean, so what? If you're gay, great. The only exception to being something is like, well, if you're a pedophile, okay, no, that's not cool. But I mean, anything that's between two consulting adults and doesn't harm others. Listen, I
have to take my off to Leo Varadkar. He's an Irish politician, and he said,
"Oh yeah, former Taoiseach."
Yeah, somebody asked him about being gay, and he says, "Why do you keep going on about me being gay? Like you don't say." Here's the male politician, Leo Varadkar.
Here's the hetero.
Here's the doctor, Leo Varadkar.
Yeah.
Yet you keep saying, here's the gay man, Leo Varadkar. Like, what the hell? It's funny, it stopped then. It was
and actually, it was never... Well, I mean, I'm speaking for myself. I was like, when it came out that he was gay, I was like, oh... Okay, that's interesting, I guess. One for the books,
Exactly. Speaking of stopping, we're going to call it a day there.
Sure.
Obviously...
But hold on, we've loads of things to set the world to rights.
It's not up to us to set the world to rights.
No problem.
And I
suppose if we've left anything hanging, we can
go on to the next
pick it up. We can talk about it next time,
And listen, put in the comments box the 90% of the stuff that we got wrong, okay?
Because I swear we'll read them.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we'll call it a day there.
All right. Take care.
Amigos. See
next time. Bye.